Now we'll have question and answers. Please direct your questions to the two speakers. Make it brief, the question. And we also, I guess, include those online. If you have questions online, please join us as well. Yes.
I have two small questions for Professor Duraj. You mentioned that the major purpose for Franciscan expedition to the Mongolian Empire was not actually for religious purpose, but for like diplomatic. And so my question then what's the purpose for this try to establish diplomatic relation with the Mongol, because they try to make a peace, or to consider as the first stage, or to pave the path to the further real job, that is to do the missionary work. I remember you mentioned also the letter. My second question is, I've never been to Poland myself, but I remember years ago I visited Budapest, Hungary. I could see the kind of a Mongolian influence there. So I'm just wondering, in Poland, besides the food, you mentioned Tatar food, and are there anything which can be called like Mongolian influence that survives today?
Thank you very much for these two questions. The first one, the first question should be answered in the following way. Definitely part of the intention, one aspect of the intention of Innocent IV was to promote the Christian religion, but this was not, I think, the most urgent issue. The most urgent issue was, let's say, to protect Christian majority in the Christian countries who were slaughtered, many of them by Mongols invasion. So at that time, the Mongol invasion, as far as I remember from the Polish sources and the general perception at the time, Europe was shocked that such an unexpected invasion suddenly was able to, in a short period of time, to conquer various countries. And what remained after the invasion was really the destruction. Like barbarians, invaded Rome, Vandals and barbarians, then something similar happened in Europe. So there was a lot of violence, a lot of killings and so on. The defense of the emperor of the Great Khan was, in the letter to Pope, was, well, you disrespected our ambassadors, so we had to respond in some way. But anyway, they invaded. They wanted to conquer also this huge territory, the Western civilization. So the intention was, I would say, first of all, to make peace with this unknown empire, and the missionaries, one of the tasks was to explore the culture, religions, and I think according to instructions they received, if I'm not mistaken, they were also to report about the military equipment of the Mongols, because they really do not know the military strategy, tactics of the Mongols was quite unknown in Europe, and it was surprising attack by Mongols that Christian, the soldiers, the military, be it Hungarians or Poles, they were surprised by the attack. They did not know much about their tactics. So, but the intention was also, apart from this, protecting the Christians, also to know more about cultures, religions, their traditions, their customs, and so on. Okay, religious motivation in terms of expansion, Christian expansion was not the most important one. But as out of one of the outcomes, I did not mention it due to the lack of time. One of the outcomes of this expedition was that missionaries managed to secure, for example, the trade, the mission actually reopened the trade which was blocked during the Mongol invasion through Middle East and the Silk Road. it was complicated after that. And thanks to their passing to Karakorum, actually they managed to secure it again. As I said, they wanted to, first of all, the second outcome was to make peace with the princes of Russian Empire at that time, Jarosław the Wise. He was actually poisoned. We heard from some sources that when he went for the inauguration of the great Khan, he was invited there, and then a few days later he was given something, some poison or whatever. He died there, a great prince of Russia. So the missionaries wanted to establish peaceful relationship with those princes along the way. So there were different, so to speak, intentions to do it, expectations from this mission. To what extent it was attained, we cannot say definitely, but there was a very positive outcome. And then regarding other things, I don't know, there's some culinary, some cultural elements they might be, but first of all, what they left is DNA. Okay, DNA. Okay, you understand my point. Okay, so some of our physiognomy, Poles, have a mixed physiognomy because of this influence. First, we were invaded by the Aryans from the North India, centuries, 1,000 years before. Then Mongols' invasion also contributed to our blood identity. Okay, so that's it. Yes.
May I ask two questions? One to Dr. Capecchi, and another one to Father Jarek. Professor Capecchi has actually mentioned how in Pisa, and this is very interesting also for my field of research, is how in Pisa, thanks to the expedition, most probably, of Giovanni Marignolli, the Franciscans of Pisa are the first to receive some goods, some fruits from China. So I would ask Professor Capecchi if he could dwell a little more on this information, because I know that Giovanni Marignolli, in his relation in the Chronicon Bohemorum, talks about the fact that he received gifts from the Weizong Emperor, and these gifts were actually stolen from him in Ceylon, and then he managed anyway to bring some stuff to some objects and some textile to Santa Croce of Florence, which was his own alma mater. But in my work at Santa Croce, I tried to find the materials. Unfortunately, the great convent of Santa Croce, which is the biggest Franciscan church in the world, was destroyed by fire in the 16th century. So we have lost the documentation for the medieval period. And also, I would like to formulate that my observation question to Father Jarek Duraj, because two things. First of all, if we know more about Benedetto Polonio, at least as his formation within the early ranks of the miners, because Giovanni da Pian del Carmine was among the first followers of St. Francis. Also, he was an Umbrian, and of course, you mentioned, Jarek, very, very pointedly, the mission that Pian del Carmine did in Muslim Spain. And so probably he was a person that he was identified as a mediator, as someone that could mediate with the non-Christians. And in my observation, if I might say something on the intention of Pope Innocent IV Fieschi, for my studies on the following generation of the Franciscans, so generally the Franciscans say that Fieschi was a Genovese, no? And so he grew up in a mercantile environment, and his intention is not only to protect let's say, our European frontier onto the east, but also to protect the commercial routes. But definitely, Innocent IV produced three epistles in three different moments, 1242, between 1245 and 1248, if I am right. And in the last ones, is more interested, as you mentioned, in a relation with the subject Christians, the tributaries Christians that have become tributaries, shifted their tributaries from the Byzantine Empire to the Mongols. And therefore, this is also one part of Giovanni da Pian del Carpine, in a sense that he is also mapping the so-called schismatic to whom or amid whom send other missions. The Relatio Tartararum, it is definitely, as you said, come si chiama, an intelligence report dwelling on some minor parts of the military tactics of the epoch. For example, Giovanni da Pian del Carpine, I don't know much he was knowledgeable about military tactics, but definitely he describes the use of rapid cavalry attacks, the use of the bows and arrows. So it really was an intelligence report. But I would not diminish too much an apostolic intention, even if primitive, let's say, definitely not as so monumental like the one by Nicholas IV that I mentioned yesterday regarding Monte Corvino, where you have the letters to Kublai Khan, which are very direct and respond to the journey of Rabban Sauma, and especially, I think, Yabala III as a Catholicus. In fact, Yabala III, as a Catholicus of the Nestorians, wrote to Boniface VIII, and he submitted the Nestorian community to the Vatican, to the Holy See. Grazie.
May I answer? Yes.
Yes,
Well,
please,
yes,
Gabriele,
please.
go ahead. Yes.
It's not a simple answer to do, but I can reassume in focal points. The first point is that the citrus fruits are known from the Imperial Roman period as medical drugs, and then used from Arabs and reused from the Indus medicine starting from 975 when Islam conquered Sind, and the Sind dialogues with the Liu Chao dynasty in China. So that we know that the citrus fruits was a principle that was used in the Italian naval republic of Amalfi, the school Amalfitana, starting from the 10th century, and then used in the whole medieval period and the Renaissance period as medical drug. So that Pisa, this is the second point, was a tactical naval center until the First Crusades, and from the First Crusade, they have traffic with the near Orient, near the Terra Santa, and so that Pisa is a natural warehouse to citrus fruits for medical use. That is obvious. That is the third focal point, that the Franciscan in Kensu who used maybe certainly the traditional Chinese medicine and can use and see the effects of these medical principles, send to Alma Mater in Italy, but Pisa, who was an independent republic, was the natural haven to the ports of central Italian states in medieval period. It's natural that the fruits, these seeds, maybe seeds of this Liu Cheng orange could be sent to Pisa. And Pisa was a translation center from the letters and other materials coming from Asia in the 14th century.
From my side, thank you. From my side, I will conclude thanking Professor Vosila for this element, very important. I would agree. Of course, I cannot verify now through the sources, but what I remember from the reports, from the some commentaries about their expedition, yes, implicit, I think the missionaries were about to explore the religions of Asia, but of course with the focus on the condition of Christianity, Christian communities there. We have, when we look at the report, the chapters of Historia Mongolorum and so on, we have brought many topics discussed there, including the religion. So of course they were interested in everything. But yes, they wanted to understand what is the condition of Christianity. And there was also one mythical aspect to this. In Middle Ages, Europe believed that there is a prince, a leader who is a Christian. But they did not. So
John, yes.
Yes, they did not know about him. They wanted to verify whether it is true and not. And finally, the final element is, from the report, we see how how those Franciscans, when they arrived to Karakorum, they noticed how in front of the big tent, when normally there was a residence of the great Khan, there were religious rituals that reminded them about the Christian Eucharist, the kind of performances that were very close to Christian liturgy, and they were concluding, oh, they are practicing Christian religion here. So these elements were already noticed by them, and they wanted to verify. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for all the speakers and those who have asked questions. We are tight with our schedule. So aside from thanking all, a round of applause for the speakers and the one who asked questions.